Hi, everybody, and welcome to Sacred Anarchies, a post-church podcast. This is a special Sacred Anarchies edition because other than our very first podcast back in July, we are actually together doing this podcast.
Wow, we actually have done this together?
We did. Our first podcast was together, maybe our first couple. It was before we were doing videos, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's right.
But for those of you who subscribe to our YouTube channel,
here we are.
You're getting us together.
Two of us divided by a golden heart.
A Golden Anatomical Heart by the fabulous Saletti. Anyway, we are together. Baz has come to see me in Rugby for the day because I am getting ready to head off with Simon to America for 2.5 months next week.
Whoa.
2.5 months.
That's a long time.
I know, it's crazy. Everybody's like, are you excited? Are you excited? I'm like, yeah, I'm excited, but it's just a long time to be away from home.
So you'll lose your British accent?
What are you talking about?
Exactly. Go ahead. 100.
Yeah, some of those Long Island accent pieces never quite die.
Never quite go away.
But you know, it's funny. I was talking to someone recently and they said, oh, you sound like you have a British accent. I said, if you think I have a British accent, then you don't know what a British accent sounds like because I do not have a British accent.
Do you know lots of British people lately, though, have been asking me if I'm Australian. It's really bothering me because people in America used to ask me the same thing.
Well, because you have this hybrid accent now.
It's just not nice.
And it's not like you didn't hang with Australians for a very formative part of your life for years.
I didn't think about that.
So there is that. But you know, when I came back from France and I came back to America after the 1.5 years, people were like, where are you from? They didn't think I was American. They didn't think I was European. They didn't think I was British. I was doing this like weird, because it's just like you pick up certain things.
What were you saying? You were saying this?
Not that.
No.
But I bet if you spoke in that kind of French accent with your raspy voice, people would tune in like crazy.
Pourquoi?
Wow.
That's good.
I will just say that you have gotten throughout the years, people love your voice. You've got this kind of sexy, smoky, raspy, mysterious. Really? Don't say really with a question mark, because you
it's
know,
my
because
voice.
people have
I
talked
hate the
about
sound
it.
of my voice. So, you know, I don't
know why you hate the sound of your voice. Everybody loves the sound of your voice.
Doesn't everybody hate the sound of their own voice?
No, not everybody, especially when people around you tell you that they love your voice so much for you to say, I hate it. I don't know why. It's fabulous. Anyway, on to our podcast.
It's fabulous, and I don't know why I hate it. Sacred Anarchies.
Sacred Anarchies.
Sacred Anarchies.
Say it again.
Sacred Anarchies.
Anyway, if you are watching on our YouTube channel, or if you're listening to this on audio, you should head to our YouTube channel because we have a visual for you. We want to talk briefly about a very cool article that came out in this quarter's edition of New Philosopher magazine. Look at that. It's kind of very Bowie.
Yeah, it's very
Lightning-esque. Yeah.
What's the reason for that? What's the title of the...
Well, the title of the journal for the quarter is Energy, or Total Energy, I should say.
Oh, so that's an energy sign.
The last one was Space.
That's like a nuclear energy.
The one before Space was, yeah, it is kind of. The one before Space was Perception. Yeah, it's a lightning bolt. And it's all about humanity's relationship to energy, to currents, to vibrations, and to the impact it has on us and the impact those things have on our community as a collective society. So anyway, I actually wrote my Patreon on this week.
I read it. It was good.
Yeah, you liked it?
It was good. Très bon.
Merci beaucoup, monsieur.
Je vous en prie.
So this article.
Commencement en anglais, toujours en français? No?
Do you just? I mean, if you could keep talking French, people would love it.
Whatever.
It's very fabulous.
Yeah, allons-y.
C'est magnifique. Anyway, the power of words, and this kind of struck a particular chord in me because, as you know, I grew up charismatic evangelical, as a lot of our listeners have, and there's so much talk about the power of our words. They have the power to kill or destroy or bless or celebrate or heal or maim. And obviously, if you look all throughout scripture, especially in the wisdom literature like Proverbs, you see verse after verse in terms of what our words are capable of. James talks about it. Paul talks about it. Jesus has a word or two to say about it. And it seems to be all throughout scripture. But
it gets horribly
twisted.
Yeah, because you can't.
It's really
that's whenever I see an article that sort of references something like the power of words, I find myself getting a little bit edgy, going, "Oh, I know how wrong this can go."
Well, because it's not just the religious people who have co-opted this idea of the power of words; it's also kind of self-help and
Yeah.
wellness gurus out
Yeah,
there,
New Age
and
spirituality.
and
Manifesting.
yeah, and we're not trying to sort of take that away from anyone.
Well, this is
or
an
make fun of
interesting,
it.
but this article actually presents a very different.
But it presents a different side of it. So people who have kind of had enough of the power of words from either the religious side or the New Age side. The author here, Maisha Cherry, who is an African-American philosopher, she's got her own website. You should check it out. She's doing some really good work, publishing some really good stuff. But she actually talks about the energy effect that words have on our bodies, our nervous systems, and our organs. And she basically says, our body is one big economy of energy. And our brain, for lack of a better term, is the caretaker in terms of the budget and how that energy is budgeted throughout our body. And she talks about stressful situations. And every time someone experiences stress, every time someone experiences something negative, and a lot of negativity in life can come from words. She cites specifically, that moment where you read that really harsh, mean, unkind comment on social media, and you can feel your heartbeat start to race, and you can feel yourself sweating, and you just feel so down. It's because your brain is processing that language, and the same part of your brain. She actually cites a neuroscientist's work, Lisa Feldman Barrett, who actually just came out with a book a couple months ago, 7.5 Habits of the Healthy Brain, I think it's called. Hold on, she cited it in here. 7.5 Lessons about the Brain. There we go.
Which is interesting.
Very interesting. I need to get it for sure. The cover looks fabulous. Everything about it looks amazing. And so Barrett says basically that the same part of your brain that processes words and language are also in control of a lot of other organs and systems, not least of which your nervous system. So as you're processing language with that part of your brain is also directing energy to manage and mitigate the effect that those words have on your nervous system and other organs. And, Cherry cites that this is why people who live in poverty, who live in lower income situations, who live under constant systemic racism, sexism, domestic abuse situations, who are constantly, their body's energy budgets are constantly mitigating against the negativity and those words that are just damaging them again and again. This is why they are disproportionately ill, sick, develop cancer and other ailments. And so she said, while we look at the world and the crazy year we've had with COVID-19 and all of these other things, while we cannot fix these things, or certainly we can't fix them overnight, what we can do is be kind to ourselves in terms of the words we say and allow into our life, not only our own words, but the words of others, the words that we speak to others. Because it's a good point that we're not only managing our own energy when it comes to words, but we also have a responsibility in what are we costing someone in energy when we're unkind to someone? So I just thought it was a really interesting take because she takes a neuroscientist's
approach,
vantage point.
I mean, I think it's a fascinating idea. I like the way she connects words to this notion of a kind of physical energy source in the body, the words, because when people talk, if you talk to somebody who's been a victim of a lot of verbal abuse, they say things like, I feel really beaten down, as though they've been hit, and you sort of realize that there's energy. It may not be a physical punch, but it packs a similar kind of energy depleting blow to the body, and it's kind of makes you realize, well, it makes you wish for a kinder, gentler world.
It does, truly.
It's like I was thinking about this article in light of trolling and the way that things so quickly escalate on Twitter. And I was reading there was a thing in the paper this week, and it had to do with English soccer players, some of whom are Afro-Caribbean or African, French, or what, like soccer players, people of color, and the verbal abuse that they get after a game. And some people say, oh, just goes with the territory and you just have to take it. And I just thought of that, how incredibly harsh it must be when you've sort of expended all of the energy playing a game, and then somebody just decides that they're going to unload their bullshit on you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's been a lot of that in the media lately, actually.
Well, yes. I mean, there's a, and we've had this conversation before. I think that a couple of the social media platforms, Twitter particularly, but also Facebook, their sites of ugly.
So toxic.
The word energy that's expended in those environments is really, it's really energy. Oh, and I have this thing.
He always will just move eventually out of the frame.
Yeah, I like being out of the frame, but I am looking at the world through rose-colored glasses. Indeed today.
Indeed you are.
But
so yeah, I guess I wanted to briefly talk about it because, and I told you this when we were having lunch today, it's not that our listeners and and people who are in the same vein of thought in terms of post-Christianity, post-church, post-theism aren't thinking about these things and feeling these things. But I think sometimes when you make a move from such a kind of conservative background to a life where things are very open and you're living in kind of more uncertain terms when it comes to a lot of stuff, that you need someone to partner and help you in articulating how you feel and how you think about these things. Like, we can say that it is all bullshit how people talk about the power of words, quote unquote, in the church, and it's really kind of been used to manipulate and to coerce and to control. And it's actually been used, I mean, you can see it in word of faith movements or prosperity movements. Say this thing enough, say this scripture enough, or pray this prayer enough. Catholicism, the Hail Marys and the Our Fathers, if you pray the rosary, you can be forgiven this many, or whatever it is. And so you kind of swing the pendulum to the other side, and you think, oh, well, words don't matter. Well, we know words matter, but why do words actually matter? Well, this is why.
And it's also, I mean, we talk a lot about finding new language.
We do.
The interesting thing, I think, the addition that you sort of probably have to make to that is that not only do you need to find new language, but you also need to operate with new kind of speaking energies.
You do, indeed.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or maybe they're old speaking energies where you actually tap into the kinder, gentler modes of expression.
Indeed. Well, with that being said,
I say it's easy for you to say.
Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and say words that actually matter, and put good energy out in the world, and it doesn't have to be like this kind of like, oh, good vibes only, man, kind of thing. But we have to be responsible for what we're saying, the kind of energy we do bring into a room, the kind of energy we suck from a room, and I just think that these things are important just for being a good, decent human. So
good words to end with.
That is our sacred anarchist thought for today. Thank you.
You go. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening. And we'll see everybody next week. Yeah.
And I'll try and stay on screen next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.